Kelly, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Your house is going down in flames. What three albums do you grab?
Oh, my house is too soon, man, with the LA fires. What three albums? I'm gonna definitely grab some of my father's albums because he was a musician and he put out a lot of records. So I would definitely grab his records. I think I could grab more than three though. So I'm gonna say, what else? What is like a really important record to me in terms of I have an original copy of Hot Buttered Soul by Isaac Hayes, which is one of my favorite, definitely in my top. It goes between top one and two. But years ago, Monophonics got to play a Stax party in Memphis on the Stax property. And there was a lot of Stax musicians, alumni, and I got to have Al Bell, who's a producer on that record, sign it, and I got to have Marvel Thomas, who's the brother of Carla Thomas and the son of Rufus Thomas. He signed it because he's also a co-producer and played keyboards on it, and James Alexander from the Barkays who played bass on it. So that would definitely be like, yeah, the fact that it's like an original copy, it's one of my favorite records, and it's got those signatures makes it probably the most special album in my collection.
So that's two.
Let's see, man. Probably one of my like original Blue Note records. Something that's like, same thing, like original pressing, 50s Blue Note jazz. Or my original Ray Charles on Atlantic Records. So it's hard, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You got me on that.
It's got to be right you own as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kelly, you're probably one of the pioneers in modern soul music at the moment, in my opinion, with your productions, your songwriting, your voice as well. What got you into the production world, and what was the catalyst for keeping that going as well?
Well, it all started with DJing and collecting records. Because one thing you learn if you're shown the right way about buying records is you start to look at the labels, the year, the producers, the arrangers, the musicians, and that really guides you to know like what you're buying because you'll see certain names, certain producers, it's like when you see a black jazz record. I don't know if you're familiar with that label out of Oakland. It was a jazz label out of Oakland in the 70s. It was small, indie, but it's like if you see a black jazz, it's like you're gonna buy it because you know it's gonna be good. So I mean, that is at the foundation of my curiosity of like, how are these records made? How did they do this? How did they get the sounds? What was the process? How did they make the drums sound like that? How did they? So it was all just curiosity as a young person. And then that curiosity led me to, go to audio engineering school and do some internships at studios and be around some great producers. And, I've always wanted to just make music in the studio. That is truly my first passion is like making records, performing and being in a band. That all kind of came later, honestly. I didn't start singing till I was like 29, 30 because I never did it. You know what I mean? It's like I grew up in a household with my dad, who was an amazing singer. And I guess maybe I was just a little shy and intimidated by my dad was one of those singers where he's not a known singer, but I saw people really fuss over his singing, like people like Etta James. You know what I mean? People like Jerry Wexler. These were people who thought my dad was an incredible singer. Wow. So knowing that these legends thought that, I think I just felt a little shy about singing. So going back full circle, it's just the listening to these records in my mind kind of like, it's like an onion, like taking all the layers apart and just really listening. Like I said, like how they do that, how they get this, what's the process? And that curiosity led me to just want to like be in the studio all the time. And the prolificness comes from just my passion. I just love making records.
What's a song you're most proud of making?
That's hard because everything is so personal in the sense of I really try and put my whole self in everything. I mean, personally, a lot of these songs are true. There's a lot of my real stories in there, real situations I've been in, the pain, like I said, the ups and the downs, all the things. Maybe one of them would be, and I would just say Can't Let Him Down, only because it was a very special session. My dad played organ on that. I got to do it at one of my, good friends' studios in LA, Sergio Rios. James Gadson is playing drums. James Gadson is like one of the greatest drummers to ever play. He played on all the Bill Withers records,
No way.
like Use Me and Kissing My Baby and Dancing Machine, and played on all the Charles Wright and the 103rd Watts band, like Express Yourself. He played on the Dyke and the Blazers records.
How did he get
James
involved
is a
with it?
legend. So I would say just like, I don't know if it's the most personal, but it's just like such a memorable session, and the song really came out in a, it came out exactly how I wanted it to, which isn't always the case. Anybody who tells you it's like, this is exactly how I thought it'd be, it's like, nah, it's not really like that.
Otis Redding comes back from the dead. What song do you duet with him?
Down in the Valley. I got to sing Down in the Valley in Macon, Georgia, in front of Zelma Redding, his widow, for Otis Redding's 80th birthday.
Wow.
And she loved it. And that's about as big a compliment. And I got to go to the Redding farm where Otis, he built this kingdom, with his business sense only at 24, 25. Got to see the barn and all the things that you see in the Tramp video. And, the most beautiful thing and the kind of like thing that took all of us by surprise is that he's there. He's buried on that property. And there's an eternal flame burning. It's a beautiful marble setting where he is. And we didn't know that going to the property. So when we walked to this one spot and we saw that, it was like, my God, he's there. He's in there. This is where he lays. I was like heavy. So, that's definitely one of the most amazing things I've got. Going to the Redding farm, playing the Apollo, playing that Stax event. These are like, if you love soul music, these are like meccas. You know what I mean?
What does a day look like in the studio for you?
Um,
Is it changing every time?
it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm trying to kind of work out a song, it's kind of like going back to the piano. I definitely don't like to beat things. It's like a good example would be like, I Don't Want to Wait. It's like I wrote the song, but I knew it needed a bridge, and I got the song done pretty fast, but I didn't have the bridge, and I knew I wanted one. And then like 2 weeks later, it just kind of like came. So I would say if I'm trying to flesh something out, it's just kind of like a slow work process while not focusing too hard on trying to finish it, because I never want to force anything. I want it to kind of happen naturally. But if I'm like cutting something like a song for a record, it's a work day. It's like you're starting at 11 a.m. and you're usually going till about 11, 12 p.m. It's a long 12-hour day. And you're just working out the song, trying to get the arrangement right and trying to get the best take of the recording, working with the musicians and, just trying to make magic happen.
So you're writing in the sessions and cutting
I
the
mean,
same day?
I'll have a demo or a version of the song to show the cats, the musicians, and explain what I'm looking for. And you're kind of working it out in terms of like, is this the right tempo? Is this the right feel for the rhythm track? Is this the right key? So it's a lot of just like making sure all the pieces are in the right place before you go, okay, that's it. Roll the tape.
Mhm. How does that differ with your solo work as opposed to, say, the Monophonics?
It's just different in the sense of it's not honestly too different
Okay.
because I'm producing both things and I'm kind of being the singer as well. I kind of have final say about certain things. If I go, I want that verse to be longer, I want this chorus to be shorter, or things like that. It's different because obviously, Monophonics, the co-founder and longtime member Austin, he'd be on the drums, and there would be Max Ramey from the Ironsides on the bass, and we work with different guitar players. So I mean, there's obviously so many things that are similar, but there's a different thing. Monophonics allows me to really like push the boundaries, stretch things out, kind of, color outside the lines. Whereas with myself, I really am just like a pure, well, I'm making soul, I'm making R&B. With Monophonics, I like to experiment and bring in that psychedelic kind of, texture and vibe. And like I said, it just allows me to kind of experiment a little bit more. So It's hard to say. It's not different, but it is, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Monophonics is definitely a little more collaborative in that sense because it's like a band, where my stuff is collaborative, you know, like Paul played horns on my last record and we collaborated and people are coming up with lines and, hey, that's cool. I mean, that's what music's about. Like, you can only, no matter, unless you're like Stevie Wonder or some like, musical genius where you can do it all. But even Stevie brought in great horn players, guest musicians, because like, that's what you do. You go, hey, I can do a lot, but this guy can do it better. So let me get, let me get him in here to do that. So
Mm,
it's all about collaboration. That's like the best thing about making music. It's like sitting in your room alone gets old after a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you currently listening to at the moment? What do you think we should be listening to?
I'm listening to these great mix CDs that I got from there's a great record store. He particularly sells 45s. It's in San Francisco. It's in the Haight. And his name is Ricky, and he had, Ricky Ricardo's records. A lot of places, it's called Rookies, really, but his name's Ricky, and he's a character, and he just knows so much about music. So he sells these CD compilations that will blow your mind, and just I'm constantly finding stuff. And then I had the chance to play Amoeba in San Francisco around the time of my release, and the co-owner of Amoeba brought me like a stack of CDs with gospel, R&B, soul, like 7 CDs. So I've been really like slowly digging into those a lot of, and so that's kind of what I've been digging into. It's a wide range of stuff like 50s, 60s, 70s. So.
I've been enjoying your playlist on Spotify recently, actually.
Oh,
The
thanks.
hi-fi one.
Yeah, I need to
Some
update it.
gems on
Actually. Thanks
that.
for reminding me.
Some gems on that.
Yeah,
I'll put some on there on my show then for
nice.
sure. What's next for you, or how do you want to be perceived in the future? Like, are the things you want to do? Well, obviously there's things,
Um,
but
I just want to try and keep this pace going. It's kind of hard to do, but I think I can keep going where I'm just kind of like continuing to put out music and it feels fresh and it doesn't feel stale or, contrived. Not contrived because I don't like that word, but just oh, you're just kind of rehashing through, you're going through the same motions. That's a big challenge for any artist is to, continue to grow and evolve without losing sight of what got you there. You know what I mean? Like really staying grounded in who you are as an artist while obviously having that natural growth. I mean, that's kind of the hard part for anybody because, as artists, you never want to do the same thing twice. But because we all start off as music fans and we've all had that disappointing album from an artist we love, I keep that in the back of my mind. I don't want to stray too far away from the reason why people really love this stuff.
okay. Got another tricky one for you.
All right.
You're losing your hearing.
I'm losing my hearing. Jesus.
What?
First,
You
my
can-
house is burning.
You've got one last song you can listen to.
We have to go? Okay. That's all right. Go ahead.
You've got one last song you can listen to. What song is it?
Wow. Losing my hearing. As silly as it sounds, because I'm such a soul fan, it might be something by Brian Wilson of the Beatles. Just because I really love the craftsmanship that goes into those records. There's so much thought that goes into a Pet Sounds or a Rubber Soul or a Sgt. Pepper's. I mean, like I said, it's not soul music, so some people might be surprised, but there's such a brilliance to those albums. I don't know though. I could say Marvin Gaye, could say Hot Buttered Soul. I mean, that's a really hard question. It's a great
So,
question.
is there a song?
I feel like because it would be such a somber moment, I'm losing my hearing. This is the last thing I'm going to hear. I'd probably want to listen to something sad, something that's going to really like stick with me forever. So that's hard, man. That's a great question. Probably one of the best I've gotten in terms of just the best questions are the ones that make you think. You're
Mm,
put in these situations where you go, shit, I never thought about that. That's
I'll let you choose 3 then, if you're really struggling.
No, I mean, oh man. I mean, for me, just one of my favorite records that's ever been made is Walk On By Isaac Hayes. I just think that's such especially because people forget that production feels like 70s, but it's 1968.
Mm.
Like we're not even in Woodstock yet. Like we're not even in, you know what I mean? Like there's so much still to come for the culture for, you know, America, for music, for art, for the, you know, the hippie culture, the drug culture, the just everything. And I feel like that record is like so powerful for 1968. Everything from the recording, the sonic quality, musicianship, of course, the arranging with Dale Warren, and the fact that Isaac was smart enough to go, yes, we're Stax, we're in Memphis, but you know, I'm gonna go up to Detroit and work with some musicians and do some stuff. So I would definitely say Walk On By. I would definitely say there's a song that my dad did that's a Ray Charles cover called Hard Times. That's a really powerful recording. That even Ray Charles, one of the biggest compliments my dad ever got was Ray Charles said, "Your version's better than mine." It's a powerful version, man. Like if you listen to the Ray version, it's a really great, like slow blues. But if you listen to the way my dad did it, it's like really amazing. It's a great arrangement. Third, I'm gonna go with um man, I want to say Beatles or Brian Wilson. Beatles or Brian Wilson. Um Hi Sharona, fuck off. Yeah, we gotta go. So the third would be Put Your Head on My Shoulder.
Okay.
Beach Boys,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's a beautiful one, yeah.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the
Thank you so
questions
much.
and the
Yeah.
good. Yeah, man.
Thanks, Ram. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, you as well.